Javier Becerra joins me live right here in Los Angeles. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to the story. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So polls seem to indicate you and Steve Hilton in one or two, depending on the poll. Also shows Tom Steyer potentially within striking distance. He spent more than $200 million on this campaign. How do you see the state of this race? And do you see it as most likely to be a Republican and Democrat in the top two, or two Democrats?
Californians are paying attention, and if you believe that and believe the polls, then I've got the momentum. I'm the one that's climbed. Most of the other candidates have remained pretty stagnant, even Steve Hilton. And so what we're seeing is that now I've caught up to Steve Hilton, and if this sticks over the next 2 weeks, it's Steve Hilton versus me into the November runoff.
Which would be a Republican versus a Democrat. And I'm sure Steve Hilton would talk a lot about democratic rule, as he talks about over and over again. The Democrats have basically run this entire state for the last 16 years. Katie Porter was on with us last night talking about who would be the candidate of change. Here's what she said about you.
I think he's the most like Sacramento, he's been a politician for 37 years. He's been doing this since he was elected, I think, the first time when I was in high school or college.
So California right now has the highest poverty rate in the country, highest gas prices in the country, the most homeless people in the country, and among the most affordability issues when it comes to homes in the country. Do you think that the Democrats in this state, who have been in charge of it and the supermajority, are doing a good job?
We could do better, no doubt. But we are the fourth largest economy in the world. We are the place where the new economy engines, the industries are coming, tech and so forth. We still are the place where people want to come visit, whether it's Disneyland or the beaches. And what we have to do is just make it more affordable. But people want to come to California. People would like to stay in California. We have to make it so they can afford it. And that's a big task, but we'll work on it.
She's making the argument that essentially things stay status quo with you, that you're the Sacramento guy. What changes from a policy perspective? What's different with you than what we've seen over the last 4 years with Governor Newsom?
We'll get things done. I think
you're suggesting he hasn't?
No, he's done quite a few things, but we'll get more things done, and we'll get them done a lot faster because the crisis is upon us. And it takes someone who's actually had to deal with crises to know how to get us out of them. And that's one area where, whether it was the COVID pandemic, whether it's trying to finally decrease prices for prescription drugs, which I did for the first time by negotiating against some of the largest pharmaceutical companies, or whether it was taking on the biggest menace that we face in California, Donald Trump. I did it as Attorney General. It helps to have someone who has experience. Katie Porter can say a lot of things, but one thing I won't need are training wheels when I walk into the governor's office.
But in terms of a specific policy for the state going forward, you didn't mention any. Is there a specific policy that you would change that we've seen over the last 4 years, or something that needs to be done better?
Better. I mean, we are one of 50 states, but we are the fourth largest economy in the world. Something's going on that's not bad. The difficulty is we have too many families who aren't seeing the prosperity reach them. And we have to do a better job of making sure that we keep that engine going, but make sure the engine is humming for everyone.
And so how do we do that? I mean, in terms of the affordability issue, which you say is issue number one, which voters say is issue number one, the rent is too damn high for a lot of people, and prices are too damn high for a lot of people. What changes with you? What do you do differently than what we've seen now, which is why we have all of those challenges?
Yeah. We build more. We build more housing so we can reduce that demand that causes prices to go up, because there aren't enough good places to live, and that means everyone's seeking that one place and they drive up the price. Build more so there's not such a great demand. We also make sure that we don't go anywhere near where Donald Trump would like us to go when it comes to health care. We don't start kicking people off of their health care simply because Donald Trump gutted $1 trillion out of the health care system.
Well, and some of that is a question of what to do in terms of health care for the undocumented. That's been something that Steve Hilton has pointed out. He says he wants to take the undocumented off of health care rolls. Why do you want to keep them on there, and how much is that going to cost the state?
Clearly a place where we differ. He looks at them as people who don't have documents. I look at them as hard workers. I look at them as people like my parents. I am the son of immigrants. To me, I want you to help me build California. If you're working hard, I want you to have health care. I guess Steve Hilton doesn't care if they work really hard. He looks at their status, and that's about it.
Well, he says that they broke the law. He says that he immigrated here legally, and that spending money to give somebody health care is incentivizing bad behavior.
He doesn't seem to mind that the price of food is a little lower because these are the folks who are picking the crops. He doesn't seem to mind that the places that you can buy to live in are places that these folks built. He doesn't seem to mind that they're the folks that are taking care of probably one of his relatives, probably taking care of his yards. He seems to mind that they don't have documents, but he doesn't seem to mind that they do so much of the work in California.
What's the price tag for health care for illegal, or for people that are here without documents? What's the price tag for that?
It's no different than it is for you or me. It's just that because they're undocumented, they don't get any assistance from the federal government. And we ultimately will make sure that we provide health care to everyone who works, doing it the right way, and we'll make sure that we don't leave anybody out, because when you leave them out, they still will get health care, except they'll enter through the most expensive doors in the healthcare system, the emergency room.
But do you have a cost estimate for what that means for
There are cost estimates. The Governor Newsom has done the right thing. He's moved the state closer to being able to provide health care to everyone who works in this state. That includes the undocumented. And we've seen the numbers. It is expensive, but it's more expensive to let people go without care.
Okay, let's talk about something else that Governor Newsom talked about today, which is AI, which is going to be a huge challenge for the next governor, especially of California, where so many of these companies are based. I want to put up on the screen some of the plan that he talked about today. He wants to mandate state agencies to participate in study of subsidizing companies who basically aren't using AI, keeping their workers. He wants an expansion of job training for AI-impacted workers, and to explore the idea of universal basic capital, which is the idea that people should be automatically potentially invested in companies, especially AI companies. What do you think of this plan, and what does the Becerra plan look like?
So I believe the governor is pointing out something that's crucial, and that is that prosperity comes when these industries create these new opportunities for wealth. The difficulty happens when you don't share that prosperity, and then you have the disparity that occurs. I believe the governor is saying AI can be very good, not just for California, but for the country. But we just have to do it the right way, because if you just concentrate the wealth, then you'll have a lot of people who are not able to exist in a great state where you have a tremendous economy.
So you back the plan that he put out today?
What I've seen, I do like. I think we do have to get aggressive and start moving quickly.
And in terms of you, how do you use AI in your daily life?
I don't use it a great deal. I use it enough to make sure that I'm keeping tabs of what's going on. If I need some instantaneous review of what some of the issues are that, for example, I'm dealing with in the campaign, I'll use it that way. I know my team will use it periodically. It'll get used more and more.
Mm-hmm. It certainly will, and it's going to be such a big challenge for whoever becomes governor next. Thank you for coming on and sharing your views. We appreciate it. Always enjoy the conversation, and best of luck out there on the campaign trail. We're almost there.
Momentum.
Almost there.
Momentum.
And of course, millions of people have already voted here in California as well. Thank you.